Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing a postmortem. We're going to dissect some of the biggest, most spectacular tech failures in history. Because it turns out, they all have a lot more in common than you might think.
Right? I mean, on the surface, these things sound completely random, just a series of unrelated disasters. But they're not. They all followed a surprisingly similar script for failure.
Okay, let's dive into this script. We're going to uncover the archetypal blunders that even the biggest, smartest companies seem to make over and over and over again.
And our first pattern is a classic. It's the classic case of creating a product that is a brilliant solution to a problem that doesn't actually exist.
You can't make this stuff up. Back in 1999, there was a product called iSmell, and the technology was actually amazing. It was a USB stick that could create pretty much any scent you could imagine. But, they missed one crucial detail. Nobody, literally no one, was asking for their computer to smell like anything, let alone a rotting swamp. A perfect solution looking for a problem.
And Microsoft did the exact same thing with Microsoft Bob. They figured, hey, Windows is kind of complicated for people, so they made this super simplified virtual house as a desktop. The problem was they totally underestimated their users. The interface was actually kind of condescending, and the funny part, it actually made doing simple tasks slower.
Let's talk about Snapchat Spectacles. This is a weird one, because the product itself was actually pretty cool and innovative. But the launch strategy? Oh man, they sold them exclusively through these weird, limited, pop-up vending machines. Instead of creating this cool, exclusive vibe, it just frustrated anyone who actually wanted to buy them. By the time they were finally available online 5 months later, nobody cared anymore. The moment was gone.
All right. Next up is a pattern you'll see again and again and again. When the marketing promises something truly amazing, but the actual product, well, it can't deliver.
The Light L16 camera is a perfect example. The idea was revolutionary. Take 16 tiny smartphone lenses and combine their images into one massive DSLR-quality photo. Genius, right? Well, the company completely bit off more than it could chew on the software side. Fusing all those images was so complicated and tedious that the camera was basically unusable for anyone but the most patient photographers.
Now, this one is just wild. OnLive was an early cloud gaming service, and the hype was so huge that at a conference, people were literally trying to pry open the walls of their booth because they were convinced there had to be a hidden console inside. They couldn't believe it was real. But the reality? The service never had more than 1,600 people using it at the same time. People tried the demo, but almost nobody actually paid for it.
And of course, we have to talk about the absolute, undisputed king of hype, Fyre Festival. The promotion, pushed by hundreds of influencers, promised this unbelievable, exclusive paradise. Luxury villas, gourmet food, a private island, just pure fantasy.
But the reality? Wow. It was a logistical nightmare. It was a war zone. People showed up to find soggy disaster relief tents and almost no food. It turned into this chaos of stolen mattresses and eventually a $100 million class action lawsuit. The gap between hype and reality doesn't get much bigger than that.
And all this kind of builds to our third pattern, which is maybe the most tragic, when industry giants get way too comfortable at the top and just make these catastrophic, self-inflicted mistakes.
I mean, look at Blockbuster. They were the king. They were so caught up in their own success, the physical stores, the huge revenue from late fees, that they completely missed the shift that Netflix was pioneering. Netflix tried to partner with them, and Blockbuster basically laughed them out of the building. By the time they realized their mistake, it was way, way too late.
This chart really says it all, doesn't it? In 2002, Internet Explorer had a 95% market share. It was the internet for most people. But then Microsoft just got lazy. They stopped innovating. While new browsers like Chrome and Firefox were being built for the modern web, IE just stood still, completely arrogant, and its dominance just vanished.
Microsoft is the perfect poster child for this curse. They were coming off the massive success of the Xbox 360, and they just squandered it all. The launch of the Xbox One was a series of baffling anti-consumer decisions. A confusing name, a weird focus on watching TV, a mandatory camera that jacked up the price, and rules that basically punish people for buying used games. It was a disaster.
And Sony made a really similar misstep with the PlayStation Vita. The handheld itself was a gorgeous, powerful piece of tech, a real masterpiece. But then they decided to force users to buy these absurdly expensive proprietary memory cards instead of standard ones. $120 for one card? It killed the console's momentum right out of the gate. Pure corporate arrogance.
So, after looking at all these nightmare scenarios, what's the key takeaway?
What can we learn from this graveyard of bad ideas?
Well, it really boils down to these three core patterns that you see pop up over and over again across different products and different decades. You either misread your user completely, you let the hype get so big your product can't possibly live up to it, or you get arrogant. You assume your number one spot is guaranteed forever.
The funny thing is, once you understand this script, you start to see the warning signs everywhere for the next big tech flop before it even happens. So think about it. Which of these failure patterns do you see playing out in the tech world right now?